So this is where we have the power to mess with our pattern a little bit. So I'm going to go, there's a couple of options you have for tile type. You could do a brick, you could do brick by column, but I think I'm going to go with just a regular grid on this one. And we're also going to be able to adjust the width and height, and this is trial and error just to find the right pattern shape for what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to kind of do trial and error. So that's too tight, so now I'm going to expand the width to, instead of 0.5, maybe a 0.8. And I'm going to trial and error the height. So let's do 1.8, make it smaller. And I like that so far. So we can do the width, maybe tighten the width a little bit. Or we can make it, I liked it a looser style. So that could be one option. So I'm going to go ahead and name this pattern option 1, because I think we want to maybe trial out some different ones. So I just did save copy. And so now it's going to be saved over to my swatches panel as a pattern. So there's a couple of my pattern options. And so let me try some different spacing and see if I like a different type. So I'm just trialing and error. 5. Ooh, that's tight. Interesting. Let's go back to 7. And let's go back to 2. Let's do some wider spacing. And let's do even wider spacing. So I think the pattern we had was good. I also kind of developed a couple other patterns very similar to this that I also have right over here in my swatch panel that I can play with. So let's go ahead and save a copy. We're going to do this option 2. Just press enter, it'll save, or you can do save a copy and then title that a new pattern. So you can create 10 different pattern types with different spacings to kind of figure out the pattern you like. So now that we're done, we can kind of slide our pattern over here, and we can go ahead and remove our guides, smart guides, and also remove, snap to grid. Go ahead and remove that because we don't want snap to grid for the rest of the document. That would just get in our way. And hide grid. So we're going to hide grid. So now we're going to start to apply the pattern to the chocolate bar. So I'm going to go ahead and do a full box here just to kind of see how it looks. And I'm going to select on a couple of my different patterns that I developed. You know, some are tighter, some are more loose. Kind of figure out the one that I think would work the best. So far, kind of like this tighter pattern I made. And if I ever wanted to adjust it, I just select my pattern, double click it, and then you can make some adjustments. And you can go ahead and select, just kind of get the select box. There's my original pattern right here. So you can actually take your direct selection tool and you can even edit this original pattern, and it'll edit all the rest of the patterns. So it's a very quick way to do patterns. I can shift that over. Anything you want. You can also change the color as well and the stroke width. So let's go ahead and cancel. So there's kind of our pattern so far. So now we got to think of the overall composition of the chocolate bar. I want to have this pattern, but I also need to have some crucial elements like the name of the bar and the percentage of chocolate that's in the bar as well. So I'm going to look back at my previous design here, and we're going to emulate this a little bit. So now I'm starting to think of the overall blocking and layout of the design. So I want to have something similar to what I have with my South American bar. So I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of creating that same look and feel. And I'll kind of talk about what I was thinking about when I did the original one. So I think chocolate bars really stand out when they have this nice, dark, deep black color. I'm going to start out with kind of it's not necessarily black, it's got a little bit of gray. It's not just a stark black like this. It's got that nice charcoal gray, kind of has a nicer appeal to it. Let me do it a little bit darker. And then I also wanted to have kind of, and this is when you have to start doing some research and go to maybe kind of an organic market or somewhere that's going to have more artisan chocolate bars and kind of do some research. So I have right here a mast bar that I grabbed, and I wanted to kind of show you kind of how packaging design works and kind of how I thought about this design that I did. And this is kind of what I used as my research. So this is the fun part because you get to kind of open up a chocolate bar and eat it. So that's always fun. But anyway, so here's kind of the packaging. the front, and this is kind of the geometric pattern that Mass does that I kind of liked. And I really kind of like how this is kind of a sticker. It's like a little adhesive kind of square. It's not printed on the front itself, it's just an extra sticker added on top, and it kind of adds a nice layered feel. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with mine, is kind of have some kind of sticker adhesive on the top that felt like it was tactile, that you could feel like there's a layer there. It's not just one printed sheet of paper wrapped around the bar. There was some complexity to it. Same thing for the bottom. You'll see kind of in this example where I kind of have the dark cocoa, and I'll go ahead and show you the Photoshop here. I kind of wanted to have a little sticker that came around the side and wrapped around, and maybe it had the barcode on the back. And so this is when you really need to think about packaging design. It's 3D. It's something that you can turn around and you can look at. So for this chocolate bar, I have to think about how it's wrapped. So this is kind of your standard wrapper bar that folds in half. And I was thinking of having the adhesive sticker go down, but also it goes over, around, and down here to seal the bar. And then the other, having a sticker that goes across and on the back, because you have to think about the contents, the ingredients, all these, the barcode will definitely need to be there. You have to think about all those elements when you're doing the design. It's not just the front that looks pretty, but it's the entire package and wrapper. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up right now so you can kind of see how the packaging design works. I'm just open this up carefully. That looks really good. But you can kind of see this design mock-up. So right now we're just kind of looking at the front, kind of getting a good idea of what we want the front to look like, but how do we design all the way around? So we can set that up. Usually if a printer supplies a chocolate, whoever's going to be printing the wrapper, the printer, they usually have a template for this, but if you have to create your own, you can ask for sizing guidelines and you can create that in your own in Illustrator. And so there's a couple ways we can do that. We can do that by going to Document Setup, going to Edit Artboards, and we can create a couple of different artboards to kind of show the back, or we can go ahead and get the final sizing. So in this case, that's the front of our chocolate bar, and let's say it's double the width, so you have everything that wraps around. So the width, instead of a 2.63, it would be kind of double that. So we're just going to do kind of a rough doubling. And what we could do is we can go ahead and copy this, and we're just going to make kind of some marks for us. This is just for us personally, so we know where the center is. We know that's going to be the center of the bar. And the left, go ahead and slide our text away. And the right and the left side is going to be where it wraps around the back. And then we're going to have a separate, put on a separate area. This is, of course, when we do final print prep. We're going to create a new artboard over here for the two adhesive stickers that would go on the chocolate bar. But for right now, we're just going to do a final design over all of this, and we can always separate those elements for the printer later. So let's get started with the layout. So I have all of my text right here that I know needs to be on the chocolate bar. So now I need to arrange this in a very appealing way. So let's go ahead and wrap our little black over the sides. I'm going to do our little adhesive sticker. Of course, this will be a separate element, but we're just doing this to show a mock-up to the client, to show what a final design would look like. So I'd like to kind of feature kind of an image that kind of represents Africa, but kind of in a traditional artistic sense. So I would like to feature that somewhere in this area, and I'd like to have chocolate bar featured on the top, and the South America, or this would actually be African single origin on the bottom. And I'd love to go ahead and put my chocolate contents, go ahead and click on this, down here on the bottom. Go ahead and arrange and bring that to the front. Somewhere on the bottom, and another adhesive sticker. Okay, so we want it kind of roughly there, maybe about that sizing. I want chocolate bar to be the very first thing people see. So let me go ahead and select all my text elements and make sure they're on the top layer. I'm just going to arrange, bring to front. So now I'm just doing some basic blocking. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of getting an idea of layout, where our text and type should go. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. So now I need to start to think about font choices. So I'm going to do kind of a mixture. I like to mix up sans, serif, and serif fonts together because I think they pair nice together. So let me go ahead and kind of look through my fonts and kind of figure out some good fonts to use.